I am the queen of enjoying every moment, never wanting something good to come to an end, and a late checkout is the embodiment of that. I'm your host, Laura Janela. What is going on, guys? Welcome to the first full episode drop of Late Checkout. I am too pumped. I'm so excited. I can't believe this is the first recording. It has been such a journey getting used to hearing myself on a mic, getting used to having this platform that I can just mold into whatever it is that I want, and having to pick out what that first intro episode is going to be about, I think has been one of the most challenging aspects of this project, which honestly just cracks me up. But we're diving in, we're getting into it. You heard the trailer, you know what the vibe is going to be with these episodes. And I have to kick off the first episode with travel. Like, hello. I feel like travel is honestly the best way to get to know yourself, to get to know a friend, to get to know a group of people. And when it comes to traveling, I love using it as a tool in that way, like just self-discovery, friendship discovery, having deep conversations when you're traveling. I feel like that just organically happens so easily. And it's just something everyone can connect on. Even if you're not a huge traveler, I think there's reflections and great takeaways from hearing about other people's travel stories and what they've experienced and been through. There's always some type of point that we can bring home to ourselves and reflect on and implement into our lives in a different way. This summer, we had such a great travel summer, and they weren't necessarily mainstream places. We went to 3 places this summer, and 2 of them are, from an American standpoint, not the immediate place that you would think to go, but we loved them so much that I would love to put them on your radars and kind of expose them a little bit, because we had such a good time. We had a summer where 2 of our trips were family trips, which was awesome, because being parents now and having already loved traveling so much, we really had to learn over the last 2 years how to travel with our son. And I think the more we do it, the better we get at it and the more we enjoy it. Luckily, our 3rd trip this year was alone as Brian and Laura, me and my husband. It was so much fun to rekindle that travel flame with no kids, no dog. And luckily, my in-laws are amazing. They flew in and were able to spend the week with Leo and take care of Zaya, our dog. And we just got to go and frolic and be our true selves. We got to reconnect, unplug, and get off the hamster wheel of parenthood. As much as we love it, we enjoy it so much. It is so nice to kind of have those moments, whether it's a few days or a week, to have that reminder of who we are without those mom and dad labels, and just be back to ourselves again. But regardless, whether you're traveling alone or with a partner or a friend or as a family, I definitely highly recommend all of the places that we went to this summer for all those types of groups. I really felt like everywhere we went had such a great vibe. It had good food. It's the summertime in Europe. Weather was phenomenal. And if you're an early planner and already trying to think about 2025 travel plans, then I think this is the perfect episode to start off this podcast with, so it can get you some places and destinations on your radar, some tips, things we liked, things we didn't like. And yeah, I'm just going to get into it. The first place we went to was Cyprus. We went in the first week of June. We flew into Larnaca. It is one of those islands, one of those countries that has the most beautiful beaches. I swear that everywhere in the Mediterranean just is gorgeous, but I loved Cyprus because I feel like not so many people know about it. Like, there's a ton of tourism there, of course, but from an American aspect, I feel like there aren't that many Americans that go. And I have to say, I would highly recommend it to everybody to go, especially if you're going with a family. I'm going to speak from a family aspect a little bit right now, but I do know that Cyprus is filled with hotels that are adult only. And I know that they have clubs and bars and things to do at night. I mean, it's the quintessential island where it has water sports, things to do during the day. If you just want to unplug and resort out, you can do that. But the angle from which we went, we had little Leo with us. So we definitely were seeking a place that is family friendly, that is accommodating for families and for kids. And I felt like the area we stayed in was just the epitome of that. It was so perfect. We stayed near like Fig Tree Bay area, and we stayed in an Airbnb in this gated community of brand new housing that was gorgeous. And Cyprus is insanely affordable. I know that maybe it's a stretch to actually get there, but once you are there, it is just one of those European countries that has affordability written all over it. The luxury style house that we stayed in, for the dollar amount that we spent, it was like, oh my God, like it felt like a steal. We had a pool. We had like a little mini playground in the backyard. It was 3 bedrooms. We had a rooftop deck that overlooked the sunset with a jacuzzi. It was amazing. And we love doing Airbnbs right now because Leo's super young. We have him going to sleep at like 7 p.m. every night. So when we put him down for sleep, me and my husband still want to have this night, we still want to have maybe a glass of wine. We want to hang out. We want to watch the sunset or go in the jacuzzi or whatever it is we want to do. We want to have that time and the space and the availability around us to do something, right? And we feel right now, if we do stay in a hotel, we feel a little confined. We don't like the idea of feeling like we need to be silent for him. We want to also enjoy our time away. So we've been Airbnb-ing it up with Leo, and I'm definitely going to link the Airbnb in the show notes because it was phenomenal. It was a 5-minute drive to the beach. I will say Cyprus is definitely a place for you to rent a car. I find that with any Mediterranean islands, I love renting a car because a lot of beaches, the main ones are very easy to get to, but there are so many off the beaten path beaches that you want to see because they're just so beautiful. Like these little nooks of preserved little areas that are just so hard to get to on foot and just not worth it to like Uber or taxi around. It's just nice to have your own vehicle and you can bop around if you're a beach bopper like that. I do like that Cyprus has both. Like you can go to ones that have that seclusive type of vibe, and then there's ones that are more mainstream that have the restaurants and the accessibility to everything, which we also love. The 2 beaches that we went to that were more in the main areas, near the resorts, near the towns that you could walk to or taxi to, whatever, that were close by to our Airbnb, were Fig Tree Bay Beach and Nisi Beach, which super similar in nature. Great parking, great access to restaurants. You can rent lounge chairs, umbrellas. There are bars, there's beach shops, like all that kind of stuff. Perfect. And then the 3rd beach that we went to was 10 or 15 minute drive from where we were staying, but totally worth it. This is our little adventure into like finding a seclusive beach, and it was called Konos Beach. Absolutely gorgeous. Even with having the toddler, it wasn't hard to get to on foot once you parked. Because some of these beaches, guys, can be like hard to get to, like a little bit of a hike because they're like at the end of a nature preserve or some shit like that. But this one was easy on foot. There were other kids there too. And it was secluded, but there was like one restaurant. There was one little beach shop with like water sports to do. So I liked that. I liked the accessibility, but definitely gorgeous. Definitely highly recommend. Overall, as a recap for Cyprus, I listed a couple things that I really, really loved about it. Like I said before, the affordability of everything, but also the luxury rentals. I was obsessed with that aspect of it. Traveling with a kid, it was so family friendly. The people were just so, I feel like in general, Europe is just so great when you're traveling with kids. They're so used to children being around. They don't get upset by crying and all of that stuff, but they also provide a space, especially here at this area of Cyprus, provide a space that the adults can enjoy themselves and the kids can enjoy themselves. For example, the restaurants that we would go to had a playground like attached to them. So you could be sitting at dinner, having your wine, having your food. And if your kid is like getting antsy at the table, they can just go and play in the playground. You can see them right there. Like everything is in eyesight. And I felt like 80% of the restaurants we were coming across were like that. Even the beaches, the beach workers were so sweet with the kids. The beaches themselves had like really great shallow water in the beginning of them. And I will say, considering we were there the first week of June, it was flippin' hot. It was like 85, 90 degrees Fahrenheit for you Celsius people, like 30 to 33 degrees Celsius. Like it was getting hot. So definitely needed to be in the water, definitely needed to be on the beach or at the pool, whatever. It was a place that's been on our little like bucket list since we've lived here. And I'm kind of happy that we waited to go because it was just such a fun experience as a family. The second place we went to this summer was France. It was a town called Beau Soleil, which is right behind Monaco. And this trip in particular was our second annual family road trip. Had the dog with us. We wanted like a big backyard. We wanted the pool. We wanted the grill. And I think it's just so much fun in this phase of parenthood as travelers, because not that we don't care where we stay, but like it's typically like a leap pad for us. It's where we're sleeping. It's where we're showering. We want somewhere clean and nice, but we're not looking at all of the amenities. We're typically out just exploring and doing our thing. But traveling with him, it's like we get to really comb through the Airbnbs, like what amenities do we want, what that can feel like we're actually living in that place for that week. We picked out a spot that we were absolutely in love with, and it was a 5-minute drive from Monaco. That was the basis of the appeal. We've never been to Monaco before, so we're like, all right, let's get another thing off our bucket list. Also, the drive to other super cute, charming French beach towns is so close. Nice is a 25-30 minute max drive away. So if you're flying in, Nice is definitely the airport that you'd want to go to. We took a lot of advantage of the Airbnb amenities. We spent a lot of pool days, a lot of days grilling, being home, just playing with the kids, playing with the dog outside. And we also loved going to local markets and seeing what their fruits and veggies are like and what their meat is like, and throwing that stuff on the grill and eating it at home. Just things taste different, and it's like another way to experience the local culture. We definitely also capitalized on some cooler mornings to go and explore some of those little beach towns I mentioned. We spent a morning going to Monaco, which was really fun to go to. I want to say it's one of those places that I do wish I would have gone in cooler temperatures, because it's very hilly, and I love exploring a place like on foot and like bopping in and out of boutiques and bakeries and stuff like that. And by 10 a.m., it's like 85 degrees on the coast of anywhere in Europe, but definitely in France during August, because I think it was the very first week of August. That point in time in Europe in the south, it's so hot that it's definitely a place I'd go back to in the fall or the spring just to really roam around, because I've also heard that their designer thrifting is phenomenal. So I didn't get to explore that, but we did just get to go and walk around and see like bougie area. We went inside the casino that has beautiful architecture, and the design inside was really cool to see. We got gelato, we went to playgrounds, we saw the marina. It was a really fun morning. It was a nice way to break up our day. I mean, Monaco is tiny. So if you're staying anywhere near that area of France, I mean, just to pop over and like do a tour or your own self-guided tour, it's not a waste of time whatsoever. You'll enjoy it. But we also went to this other really cute town called Menton. It was just one of those cute quintessential little beach towns that has like an old city with the cobblestone streets and the farmers markets and the fresh jam shops and the bakeries and people watching. It's just me and my husband just absolutely love France in general. And I think when you get to roam around a place like that isn't popular, I'm sure it's popular to locals and to other people, but I don't know, you just really get the feeling for the way of life. In the summer, I find especially, obviously things are more packed and busier, but if you can get somewhere early in the morning before the buzzy streets start coming alive, it's a nice way to appreciate the area in a new way. My list of major pros about staying in Beau Soleil were the proximity to all the little towns to be able to go to. The Airbnb we stayed in, I absolutely loved it. We kind of balled out. It was not as affordable as Cyprus whatsoever, but this is the trip where we're like, let's spend on the family and enjoy the amenities and all of that, because it had like a jacuzzi, it had a sauna, and I like booked this trip way before I knew I was going to be pregnant. And I did not get to enjoy all of the amenities, but definitely worth it, especially if you have a big group of people. The house we stayed in, I think, had like 3 or 4 bedrooms, and if you're going with family or a big group, obviously becomes more affordable. I'm definitely going to link it in the show notes, because the backyard had the most gorgeous views. This town is 5 minutes behind Monaco, but also what is directly behind Monaco is straight up mountains and hills. So the house itself is just like sitting up, nestled up above Monaco, and you just see the Mediterranean for miles. You see all of Monaco. You see the coastline of France. It was jaw dropping. We had so many al fresco breakfasts and dinners out on the terrace. It was divine. It was such a good time. We really enjoyed ourselves. On the way back, because this was a road trip, we did spend a night or two in the Piemonte region of Italy, because that's on our way back to Zurich. But it was really just to break up the drive. I wouldn't consider that a highlight of our trip. I don't even really want to go comb over where we stayed and what we did. It was charming. It was cute. I would talk more about that on a separate podcast, because our first family road trip was actually, we spent a week in that region, and they had so many great wineries, so many great restaurants, and I'll definitely disclose all of those details separately. But for this particular trip, I really just want to talk about France. So now let's get to the adults only trip, because I hope that some of you who don't have kids were probably waiting for this. And this was our last trip of the summer. It was our anniversary trip. We have our anniversary in September. It's also my husband's birthday a few days before our anniversary. So we really love to go away that week and just celebrate him, celebrate us, relax, have a trip that we both love to have, meaning our quintessential version of a good travel trip is having the first half of it be just jam-packed with immersing ourselves in the culture, going on tours, getting to know what the locals are about, wanting to eat like the most authentic foods in the most authentic places, combing through whatever cities we're in and just really embracing it, really learning something. And the last half of the trip, or the last few days at least, be a relaxing aspect. Maybe we jump to a beach town, or we jump into a hotel that has a lot of spa amenities, and we can like relax and get a massage for our anniversary and really unplug for those last couple of days to feel relaxed. Because we've been on trips where the whole time is like touring and busy, 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 and you kind of come home and you're like, oh, I'm a little tired still. I need a vacation for my vacation. So we're mindful that now when we go on these longer trips, we like to like have that day or two minimum to just chill out and unplug and reconnect, and then we can go home in a more calming, fulfilled fashion. But okay. This trip, we went to Tunisia. Tunisia is a place that we've both been wanting to go to. I am so happy that we spent this year going there, because I was pregnant, so I didn't want to fly that far. And for us, Tunisia is like a 3-hour flight. I would fly there if it took 10 hours, just as long as I wasn't pregnant. So I'm so happy that we had a place that was a 3-hour reach that really gave us that contrast, that cultural, architectural, food, all of it contrast that made us feel like we did go so far away, and I don't know many people who have been, and everyone that I know that has gone has loved it. And I think with this episode, why I find it to be so special that some of the trips that we took this year are places that people haven't necessarily popularized, I guess you could say, is because I get to share that side of my travels with you guys, like that aspect of traveling with you guys, like how open I am to going to places that aren't highly acclaimed, that places that me and my husband just happen to be curious about. I'm like, oh, what's it like over there? And my husband's a huge history buff, and Tunisia has so much history to offer. So if you love history, there are so many tours. We flew into Tunis, which is the capital, and we spent our first half of our trip there. Tunisia itself is like the most northern country in Africa. So the coastline is along the Mediterranean. So it also has really great beach towns and beach cities. So it already was screaming that like mix of stuff that we like, that cultural stuff, the touring stuff, and then like the relaxing stuff. So we started off in Tunis. That's where we did a lot of our tours. We went to Duga to see ancient Roman ruins. We did Carthage to see the Phoenician ruins. We went to a city called Sidi Bou Said that's like this adorable little, almost like Greek architectural looking little nook of a town that's along the coastline and beautiful. We had great tour guides. The first few days we were inundated in culture and history. We learned so much. I'm not as much of a history buff as my husband, but I still enjoy tours like that. I love getting to know what is behind the land. And I feel like it's more interesting than any of the history classes I've taken when I was in high school or college. So I am all about just experiencing it and seeing it firsthand versus just like reading about it in a book. We found the people there to be insanely nice, so welcoming. We did stay at the Four Seasons in Tunis. And before you think anything, before you say anything, that was our first time ever being at a Four Seasons, okay? Me and my husband have not stayed at a Four Seasons before. But I will say this as a major travel tip, I guess I'll call this, is that whenever you're going to a place that's underdeveloped, third, second worlds, I feel like anytime there is a branded, franchised luxury hotel brand there, typically the price is going to be half the price you're used to seeing it being if the Four Seasons was like in the States, right? Comparatively. And one of the reasons why we wanted to stay there, because we probably wouldn't stay at a Four Seasons in the States. We want to stay at a Four Seasons in general and have the experience, because it comes with, the name comes with the quality, it comes with the luxury, it comes with the reputation. They had that reputation to uphold. So we indulged and spoiled ourselves. We treated ourselves, like treat yourself. We treated ourselves, but it's definitely not as expensive as you would think a typical Four Seasons would be. The quality of the service was amazing. We were treated like freaking royalty. It was so nice. It was ridiculous. They knew I was pregnant. They brought a pregnancy pillow to the room. We got upgraded. It was such a nice start to our trip. The restaurants were amazing. The breakfast was great. The views were great because it was coastal. It was just so nice. It also wasn't too far of a drive from the main Tunis Medina, which is a place you have to check out when you're there. All the shops and the restaurants, so many good authentic restaurants. Absolutely highly recommend it. And the last half of our trip, we went to Hammamet, which is a beach town. We wanted to go and unplug, reconnect, not think of anything other than sunbathe, go to the spa, because we got like a couples massage and did all that. Really capitalize on the break that we had from being parents, from working, from all of that. I will say going to the hotel at Hammamet felt like a drastic difference from the Four Seasons, which is ridiculous because the hotel itself would have been, it was a great hotel. It was fine. It was adults only. They had a pool. They had a beachfront access. Like our suites were really nice. I will say we bumped into a couple hiccups with them, but they did such a good job of making up for everything. Customer service was definitely a little slower, but it was just as, I will say, good of quality in terms of being attentive and caring about how we were feeling about our stay and whatnot. What I really loved about this hotel, I'll also link it in the show notes, but they had a Clarence spa there, and the spa was so good. And if you want to get your culture on from a spa perspective, then you have to do the hammam bath. But yeah, this part of the trip was really to recharge, unplug, reconnect, have that extra time really milking the last of our vacation. And overall, I would say the major pros of this was having that cultural contrast that we were craving in a country. It served both sides of a good travel, exploring and learning and getting to know a place, and equal sides relaxing. It's a small country, but it has a lot. If you do your digging, Tunisia has many more tours and many more beach towns to be enjoyed. Definitely a pro tip is getting to the airport easily an hour earlier than you would plan to. Having traveled to a couple different countries in Africa before, that when you're traveling there, the airports are typically filled with 3 more layers of security checks than we're used to, like in the States or in Europe. When you're driving into the airport, they're stopping the car, and that's a security check. And then when you get to the door of the airport, you have to put your stuff through a scanner, and that's a security check. And then you have the regular security check. And then sometimes other places have another one last security check right before you're boarding. So if there's a line, there's no getting around these security checks. You can't jump the line. There's no cutting, We've definitely ran through some airports completely fighting for time, not having known that there were so many security checks. So that I will definitely leave you with. That's a major takeaway. And I gotta say, I loved all the places we went to this summer in all of its different aspects. I feel like now that I'm a little bit seasoned with traveling with a kid and, also still craving and loving the idea of traveling without him still, it's given me a little bit of a reflection point to kind of see how, okay, what are my favorite parts of traveling solo without children? And then what are the parts that are great about traveling with? Because I feel like some people who are travel heads, and I had this in my head too before I had kids, find it a little daunting. You think everything is going to change, you're not going to be able to travel anymore. And things do change. But if you really do want to keep that travel spirit up with having children, you do not need to let go of it. There are so many fun ways to be traveling with them. I mean, I can only speak up until having a toddler, right? I know that things are going to change as he gets older, but as of now, we have found it easy to navigate any challenges that come up when we're traveling with him. Some people say, oh yeah, like vacation is just parenting in a different location. And I'm like, sure, absolutely. It's totally true. But for me personally, I'd rather be in France parenting than in my apartment in Zurich. I don't mind leaning into that rule. I'm okay with parenting somewhere else where I can have a little bit of a different experience when he's taking his nap or after he goes to sleep at night. Like mama gets to go in the jacuzzi, or she goes to get to see the sunset, or she likes to be outside and take in nature somewhere else. Like it's worthy of the experience. I absolutely think so. But there are definitely positives to both angles of traveling. Traveling as a couple or solo, you have the ability to be more whimsical, to be more adventurous. You could be doing things that you wouldn't typically do with your kid, right? Like if you want to go bungee jumping or you want to do like gorilla trekking, the sky is the limit when it comes to the experiences that you want to have. So we definitely save those types of things for our trips by ourselves. And I also feel like in that selfish element, and I don't know how this is going to sound, but maybe I shouldn't give a shit about how it sounds. The reality is like, I feel like one of the perks of not traveling with kids is just being able to have daytime cocktails and be able to sit poolside and have your pina coladas all day, nap, do whatever it is that your adult self feels like it has the right to do when it's on vacation without having to think about keeping someone else alive. That is obviously a very fun part of it. I absolutely love having a day where we enjoy the sun, enjoy drinks, enjoy all of that. So those days on vacation are absolutely taken advantage of. And I think the number one, or at least my number one thing about traveling without children is the bond building. Hitting the airport with your spouse, you are already feeling that sense of lightweightedness. The connection is kind of coming back together. You're already not having to think about the extra responsibility you guys are so used to thinking about on a daily basis. You don't have the labels of mom or dad. Things feel different, and it allows space for conversation to come up that hasn't come up in a while or that needs to come up, and it leaves space for reconnecting and giving your relationship that boost in the foundation zone that we're just so used to taking for granted, that we don't actually nourish and treat really well on a daily basis because we're so busy. But traveling as a family is also so much fun. It is so much fun seeing my son experience things for the first time, seeing him see the beach for the first time, having his feet in the sand for the first time, even just being on the road trip. Like he loves cars right now. He loves seeing things. Like seeing his eyes light up and allowing myself to live vicariously through him through these experiences, that is something so special. Because even for me, traveling is so much fun, and I feel like a little kid when I'm traveling. So if I have a little kid with me traveling, it amplifies it. I think it makes me feel even more naive and vulnerable and curious, and it adds to that flavor, and it makes us look for things and seek things to spark that and ignite that in him, and then it also ignites that in us. Before I mention just how much we love doing Airbnbs with him now, I will say that's also another aspect. It's that looking for accommodations in a way that we hadn't been looking at accommodations for before. And I think that makes traveling so much more fun. You get to actually feel like you're living somewhere versus just exploring somewhere. You get to go to the market and fill your fridge with things and have breakfast the way a local would have breakfast. And I love that. I love being able to feel like I'm living in a new home and living in a new area for a week. And I don't think that we would technically do that without either a group or a kid. So I really appreciate that our son has opened that door for us. He doesn't realize he opened that door for us, but he forced open that door for us for sure. From a logistical standpoint, if you can endure a day-to-day with your children, which we all do, it's fucking hard. It's not easy. I find that to be harder than vacationing with them. The ups and downs and the unpredictability of a day-to-day in a parent life, that is fucking hard. Traveling with a kid, it's challenging, but it's not the end of the world. I find it to be a really great bond building point for the entire family. Do not let the daunting thoughts keep you from having that experience, or at least trying the experience on for size. It's not going to be perfectly easy, but it's going to be fun. There's going to be something you get out of it. So much more worth it to find out whether you do love it or don't like it at all than to just never have done it and be stealing yourself from an experience that your entire family would enjoy, you know? All right, I'm going to get out of here before I keep pushing you guys to travel. I hope you enjoyed the details. I really, again, loved everywhere we went this summer for all the different reasons I listed. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'm happy to give you more information about our itineraries, what we did, what our guides were and whatnot. Take a look at the show notes for our accommodations. And that's it for this week, guys. I will see you next week. I hope you have an amazing, amazing day. Ciao, ciao.